recording first. All right. We have to make you as a host or co-host. Okay, co-host is fine. Can you check whether you can?
Yes, sir. I can.
Right. So who had spoken to me today morning regarding the presentation? Who are the team members from your group?
Hello, sir. Yeah, in the second slide, we have mentioned all the group members. Supul, can you move on to the next slide?
You have to switch on your video camera. I want to see you.
So shall I start?
Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. As Group 5, we'll be presenting about effective communication strategies. These are our group members, and I will be starting the presentation with a quick introduction. First of all, communication at an organization can be defined in simpler terms as to transfer thoughts or ideas from one person to another, or from one group to another group, so that everyone can understand each other and take action. We have identified to successfully communicate, it is important to be aware of the elements of a communication loop, also known as basic communication process. So traditionally, a communication process consists of these 7 elements, and need not forget within this loop, various type of noises are there as barriers. So with this understanding, we move forward with selected 5 communication types to elaborate communication strategies within. The first one is verbal communication, since it's the most commonly used, so therefore the most important. Strategies we came up with for effective verbal communications are as follows. Most importantly, encourage one-on-one, or also known as face-to-face communication, where you could not only get the words out, but also the feeling of the sender on the spot, which would help a lot in the process of truly understanding the message. Then, not to forget the importance of using humor time to time. Too serious conversations can put you and other participants in a negative state. Also the tone, vocal variations with right pauses can pass forward true meaning sender wants receiver to understand. Last but not least, sandwich model as a strategy. When need not to be pointed out a mistake or something negative, important to make sure that you start with a positive comment and end with one too, so that actual negative comment needed to be communicated is passed the best way possible. And I invite my next teammate to talk about non-verbal communication. Thank you.
Thank you. And now I'm going to discuss about non-verbal communication strategies. Here we can identify non-verbal communication as the communication without using a language or words, but through body language, tone of voice, facial expression, eye contact, so on. Here we will give you some tips for better non-verbal communication. First one is to maintain effective eye contact to show that you are telling truth. And second one is to keep a genuine smile even though you are communicating some opposing ideas. And third one is to respect others' personal space and try to maintain appropriate distance with the other party, and maintain appropriate postures and tone of voice, because a high tone of voice will give an offensive feeling to others. Finally, we recommend you to follow a surety theory, as you can see in this picture, for a better non-verbal communication in business environment. And my colleagues will discuss more communication strategies throughout this presentation as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Rashmi. In this, I'm going to talk about written communication. Written communication is communicating between the sender and the receiver using written communication such as letters, circulars, reports, telegrams, and other things. And we have identified who could be formal and also informal. We can use strategic communication when we use written communication, such as we identify your target audience and also answer the 5 W's and H. That means what, why, when, where, how, and also be simple and direct. Choose strong verbs is also a strategic communication, written communication method. And moving on to the next slide, there I have written down advantages and disadvantages of written communication. Written communication can help to promote the business, and also it is a brand image. It reflects the company's brand image. I mean, using banners, posters, it reflects our company brand image through written communication. And also there are, if we use written communication, it will be a permanent identification. And there is another strategy, and it is there could be a loyal relationship between employer and employee, not only employer and employee, and also there will be a if we use written communication, there will be a strong communication between the customer and the company as well. Then I would like to invite my friend to continue with the presentation.
Thank you. I'm going to talk about listening. Listening is a vital factor for the success of an organization. Listening is the ability to receive and interpret the messages in the communication process. An effective listener needs to focus on both verbal and non-verbal communication factors such as tone, gestures, and facial expressions. To make an effective communication take place in the working environment, the organization should be open to feedback. Listening is very important in receiving feedbacks as to perceive the information in a way which the sender intends to mean. And being open for suggestions is another important factor for listening. So suggestions would lead to a variety of ideas which would be beneficial for the organizations. Listening is also important to build trust within the employees and provide motivation to them. And also, it is helpful for them to gain valuable information to be successful in the organization activities. So I would invite my next colleague to continue with the presentation. Thank you.
You're from group 5, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, group 5. And who is presented before? The two candidates?
Lakshmi and Yasas, sir.
Number?
Lakshmi is 41.
41. Okay.
Yeah, Yasas is 30.
My admission is 038.
038. Okay. The previous one, there were 2 people who already presented, right?
Yes, sir. So that was
Okay.
Vimukti.
So, Mikti, what's the number?
Supon, can we just go to the
Yeah, sure.
second slide?
Because I want to keep a track on. $37. Have you presented?
No, sir.
So I presented first.
Who's
Vimukti 039.
presented first? Please tell me your number.
039.
339, 041, and 038. Right? Okay.
No, also 040, sir. I have also presented written communication.
Okay, 040. Okay, fine. 040, 041, 038, and 039, right? Sorry, 037.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
I was the second person presented. My registration number is 045.
045.
Yes,
Okay. Okay.
thank you.
So all these people have already presented. Not, hold on. No, 38, 39, 40, and 45 have already presented, sir. 37
Right.
is going to present now.
Right. 41 is still not done, right?
Yeah, that's me, sir. I'm going to present next.
So please give your name and the number before you present it, because I'm not even seeing your face. So who is presenting it now?
So I'll be presenting, sir. It's 037, sir.
37. Okay.
Yeah. Can I continue, sir?
Yes.
Thank you, Yasa. So to continue with the visual communication is another way of communicating between people. It is an easy method which helps to transmit the information between the presenter and the audience, or the next end receiver. So this is visual communication can be passed through images, symbols, and drawings. For an example, while we want to reach a destination, rather than getting how to reach the destination through a cursor, we always prefer to have a look at the symbols and the arrows and reach the destination, because that is very easy for our brain to grasp the information. Usually this visual communication is used in the organizations, and now even the education sector is making use of it, because it's an easy way of taking the information, and it reduces bulky text in a presentation. So I have just selected a few commonly used visual communication types. Due to time constraint, I don't want to explain. I just let you know it's infographics, then graphs and charts, and mind mapping. And as an example, for the advertising, graphic designing, and for industrial designing, people make use of visual communication. So that's it from visual communication part. I would like to call upon Supur to take over the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. To conclude our presentation, so the modern workplace today, it demands success and excellence, as it's dynamic, information-driven, and highly competitive. Communication is a vital part, as it allows information to flow throughout the organization. There are a few strategies that organizations can utilize for effective communication, such as verbal, nonverbal, written, listening, and visual communication. It fosters a positive culture and a progressive workplace. Making use of multiple modes of communication can be identified as one of the most effective strategies. Communication strategies work best when they are interconnected and interdependent. For example, when a manager is offering constructive advice for an employee, using positive nonverbal cues conveys that the organization has its best interest towards the employee, and it would provide motivation rather than hostility. So in summary, utilizing effective communication strategies prevent problems and allows the organization to achieve its goals while increasing engagement, productivity, and team spirit. So that sums up our presentation. Thank you all.
Yeah, can you go to the first slide? I want to come back from that.
Okay, sir.
Effective communication strategies. So, okay, now when you present it, you haven't set the clear expectation about summary about this. What is this communication strategies that should be taken into consider, because that's very important for you to set the context. Now that what you have done was that I can see there's some disconnect. You can always blame COVID for that, because there's no physical interaction and all that. But there are various ways that you can collaborate. Now, even today also we are connecting through this Zoom. So what I can see, you all have worked individually and you all are presenting it. And if I ask a question on someone else's area that you may not be able to answer, that's that gap I can feel. But anyway, it's a good job, I would say, in terms of, I mean, that my only worry is whether all 5 of you all have a common understanding. Can you move to the next slide? Next. Right. Do you have a team leader out here?
So I don't think we have a team leader to be exact, but we all worked as a team.
Right. No, I felt that's why I asked the question. Because somebody need to just come up and set the context and then move on. But yeah, fine. I mean, that I'll accept it. Can I move to the next slide? Yeah. Fine. So, okay, fine. I'll accept it. But as MBA student, there's more synergy and collaboration which is expected. What is the outcome that you're going to leave it to the audience? Any question from from the other audience? Because I also told you that if there's a question asked by anyone, they will be given extra marks as well. Any question from the audience?
Sir, this is a presentation of the report that we wrote. So the report contains a lot of information. This is just like, as we were only given like 7 minutes, we compressed a lot of information here. Maybe that's why you feel like it doesn't have a lot of information, but the report includes a lot of information, sir.
Yeah, correct. But at the end of the day, it's what you're presenting. It is the you had to build a story and talk. That's what I was expecting. So then that you had to build this presentation around that story. So if there's no question, we can move to the next presentation. Now the group 5 has completed. Group 5, 2, 3, 4, 5. How many members? 7 members, right? Am I right on that? 7 members, right? Group 5?
Yes, sir, 7 members.
All 7 are presented?
All
see
7 members have been participated in the
But
process
only
of
people
doing it,
presented,
but
right?
today one person could not join.
Who couldn't join today? The 45 or 46?
46.
Right. All right.
But she did involve with every meeting. She came to all the meetings and she contributed towards everything.
So what was her contribution?
Actually, at first we divided into 7 parts. Our topic, introduction, and 5 communication types, and finally conclusion. So we divided those 7 parts into 7 members, and then we had 2-3 meetings to discuss and conclude the report and the presentation.
Right. So what's the next group who's going to present it? Because we have to finish it, I have to cover the syllabus, today's syllabus also, pretty long one.
So we are group number 6. Can we present?
Group number 1, sir.
Group number 6. That means you have number 48, 49, 52, 53, and 63, right? And also 65.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, so we start. Who is going to start?
I'm going to share. My number is 065 LSW Senira.
Right. Okay, you can start.
Also, it still shows that the sharing is disabled.
Okay, Senamira.
065 Senira.
065. Okay. Yeah. So you should be able to.
Dilni, you can start.
Okay, good afternoon, all of you. Today we are going to present the best communication strategy for ABC Garment Private Limited, and this is our team member. I'm DMW Abhivardhana 063, and this is our content. And, next, I'm going to present introduction. ABC Garment Private Limited was established in 1990, and they have more than 4,000 employees. Also, they produce more than 200,000 pieces per day. They need communication strategy because of to enhance productivity and to achieve organizational goals and objectives. Currently, they use top-down management communication method. There is a main communication gap between the planning division and the production department. If the mayor falls to go on time to the planning division, then all the production is going to be delayed. Analyzing all the communication gaps, we introduce new communication strategy, including all verbal, non-verbal, and visual communication, and included the all relevant parties. Over to Nalini.
Thank you, Dilni. I'm Nalini Fernando. My index number is 048 TNJ Fernando. When it comes, am I audible?
Yeah, you can.
Okay. When it comes to audience segmentation, we identified there are two parties of the stakeholders, internal and external. So when it comes to internal stakeholders, there is the board and the board of directors, the top management, the CEO, the general manager, deputy general manager, and second line. When it comes to the second line managers, the managers and the assistant managers. And when it's come to third level managers, the senior executives, and junior executives, and there are frontline employees as well as laborers, and there is a third party outsourcing party. And when it comes to the external stakeholders, there are suppliers, competitors, buyers or the customers, local pressure groups, and banks. That sums up my part, and over to you, Kanchanamali. Thank you.
Thank you, Nalini. I'm Kanchanamali Senaviratna. My registration number is 052. Now I am going to describe about the channels to disseminate messages to internal and external audience. Communication channels are the means through which people in an organization communicate and interact with one another. These are the channels in ABC company to disseminate the messages to internal and external audience. In an internal audience, mainly they communicate information to. Sorry?
There's echo coming from your end. Do you have two devices connected?
Yes, sir. Okay, I'll switch off. Okay, sorry. These are the channels used in ABC company to disseminate the messages to internal and external audience. In an internal audience, mainly they communicate information to top management, middle level management, and executive staff via emails, official meetings, written documents, memos, fax, virtual meetings, text messages, social media, project summary, and documentary videos. And they disseminate the messages to frontline employees via training sessions, official meetings, photos, documentary videos, and so on. And also they communicate information to outsource workers such as cleaning and security workers by word of mouth. In an externally, they disseminate the information to external audience via web story, photos, brochures, newspapers, social media, TV and radio advertisements, annual reports, financial reports, policy brief, and so on. With that, I will invite to the Indivari to continue the presentation.
Next slide is communication objectives. I'm going to talk about the different communication objectives. First one is the leadership and the knowledge. Actually, leadership has to getting people moving in some direction to achieve common goals. So factory workers are coming together for the different problems. So overcome the operational challenges, learn from some another, enhance their skills, solving some problems. We need to give knowledge and convey knowledge to the those parties. The second one is the technological enhancement. By empowering employees with the information they need to do their jobs quicker, better, and the safer way, we can motivate them with the different technological enhancements. So the next one is the better training equals to effective communication. We can provide some on-the-job trainings, arrange some weekly trainings. For example, a training objective is everyone understand the several foundation concepts and the end of the session. So this update. So health and safety is so. However, in the global COVID pandemic situation, the communication is very required for the people to work in the production flow. So these are some objectives we can eliminate the communication gap in the organization. So that's all about my part. So I would like to invite Vidushika to continue this presentation.
Thank you, Indivari. I'm Dulangi Ratnavira. My registration number is 049. So if we move to the positioning, ABC Government can utilize positioning as a key strategy to develop and maintain a strong perception that attracts the target audience. When defining the positioning strategy as the first step, ABC Government should conduct a market research in order to identify the target audience and their requirements. And then the government should understand the essential benefits of selected communication strategy as well as how to provide value to the target audience. As the last point, ABC Government should develop a strong communication objectives that state why they decide to achieve over time. After position, let's see what are the benefits of communication strategy that could be achieved through our desired communication strategy. Moving to next slide. The previous one. ABC Government can easily locate benefits by studying the answer to the question, how will this communication strategy help organization as well as consumers? If I briefly sum up the answers which define the benefits of the communication strategy in ABC Government, it increases the overall productivity of the workforce. It creates positive presence for the organization in the market. It develops trust among employees, as well as it finally enhances the brand image of the company. So likewise, ABC Government can identify various benefits that could be achieved through the best communication strategy that we propose. And now it's time to have a look at the implementation plan. Over to you, Lankani.
Thank you, Vidushika. I'm Lankani Seneviratna, PGM MSc 2020-065. Moving on to the implementation plan. So under the implementation plan, we are going to focus on what are the responsibilities of each personalities in the ABC Government is going to look after in implementing this new strategic plan of communication. So under that, we are focusing on top level managers and middle level and operational level workers, and what are they have to do in order to maintain this new communication strategy that we have proposed. So under the top level managers, they are the main responsible party in order to proposing and implementing and allocating budget and other resources in order to implement this new communication plan. And also top managers are responsible in recruiting all these the new parties who are having the technical skills and the other conceptual skills needed to implement this new communication plan. And under middle-level managers have the responsibility in communicating and educating those bottom-level employees about the new strategy, and they have to coordinate between the what the message disseminated from the top level and the bottom level, and they also have to monitor and evaluate the progress of this new strategy. And under the operational level employees, they are responsible in adapting along with the new business communication strategy they have provided, and getting the adequate necessary training for the new strategy. And under what that we have highlighted these 3 points in implementing the new strategy. So all these the employees in the ABC Private Limited is coming from various backgrounds. They are speaking different languages. So all the information should be circulated in all 3 languages, English, Sinhala, and Tamil. And also when it comes to the literacy rate, the literacy rate of the employees will be differ from one another. So in order to understand these messages equally around all the levels of the organization, the use of graphical representation is must. And also we are proposing to develop a same platform such as mobile application, a mobile app that every employee is having on their mobile phone, so they can have information on what are the things that they have to carry out, what are the orders, the information about the orders, what are the duties and responsibilities that they have carried out, and all the information about the existing business procedure. And also we have identified a time range of 3 months to implement this plan from the day that the top management or the organization have identified this communication gap or the issue in the organization. So these are the steps that we have identified to implement during this 3 months of period of time. And under the monitoring and evaluation plan, so the close observation of the employee behavior after the new strategy implementation should be done. So, and we are proposing to appoint a new monitoring officer, either recruiting a new employee or giving responsibilities to existing employee in order to make this new strategy a success. And we can evaluate the employee performance with respect to the new strategy, and also the measurements can be done based on the results before and after the implementation of the new strategy. And according to that, the management can take the necessary corrective actions to implement to make sure the smooth flow of the new strategy. And finally, so that we have talked about how the issue we have identified within the production department and the operation department, how the miscommunication have impacted the organization common business, achieving organization common business goal. So as we know, the communication is a major key role in achieving organizations goals and objectives. So for it, and it's also more important for the both internal and external stakeholders to acquire the productivity, efficiency, and effective functioning. So, so to attainment of and aligning of this organization goal, we should focus what are the communication issues, what are the gaps of the communication, what are the miscommunication, and address the corrective and attend to the corrective measures of this communication gap. So that's the end of our presentation. Thank you all for listening. So audience, if you have any questions regarding our presentation, now you can raise your hand.
Any questions? Any question from anyone? Can you go to the first slide? Okay, the best communication strategy applicable for ABC government. Next slide. Next. 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 Okay, so yeah, you all again done a siloed good effort. They have gone into detail individually. I can see some collaboration. You will have done some practice, but then again, which point that you're going to emphasize as everybody as a group, which is not come out very well. I would like to also just get one round of checkup done again. Who has completed the presentation? Now, group 6, right? So, is 48, Fernando, have you done it, right?
Yes, sir, I did.
49, Ratnavira did it. Then the Senaviratna 52.
Yes, I did.
53.
Yes, sir. But I am not mentioned my registered number starting from the presentation.
Okay, hold on, let me quickly mark those things because I'm also marking the attendance in parallel. 53 is what's your name?
Dasanayake, WWDM Dasanayake.
Dasanayake, okay. And 63, you've done it. You're there, right? Abhayavardhan?
Yes, I did.
And 65, Senaviratna, you are the group leader, right?
Yes.
Okay, fine. So, yeah, fine. Shall we? Yes.
So we are group number 1, and please allow us to do the presentation.
Okay, I like the people who want to do it first. All right. So I can, yeah, we can move to the next group. But please remember, I'll be sharing a link in a short while. You will have to upload your presentation as well as your report into that. I'm sorry about it. I couldn't share it in advance. But for me to correctly look at things and give you the correct marks, I need to have a look at in detail. So please do that. All right. So you will be sent. Yeah, you can start now.
So I'm sharing the screen. It's 008.
008. Okay. All right. Yeah. Can start.
Okay, good afternoon, sir, and my dear colleagues. We are group number 1, actually. So today we are presenting the reasons of conflicts in an organization and the overcoming strategies. Okay, shall we move on to the next slide, please? So we consist of 6 members with the guidance of Buddhima Bandara. And I'm Pratibha Abhay Vikramasinghe, 002. Shall we move on to the next slide? So let's look at what is a conflict is. Conflict is a struggle between 2 parties, typically a disagreement or an argument. So next slide, please. There are different sources of conflicts, but we have identified a few to represent in the presentation. Among them, one is resistance to change, unclear job expectation, poor communication, toxic work environment, difference in personalities. Let's move on to the next slide, please. There are 2 types of conflicts, actually. One is functional conflict, other one is dysfunctional conflict. Functional conflict supports the goals of the group, but the dysfunctional conflicts hinders the teamwork. So hereafter, our team members will describe the types of functional and dysfunctional conflicts. Thereafter, at the end, we are coming with an overcoming strategy. So over to you, Buddhima, to carry out the presentation.
Thank you, Pratibha. Let's look at constructive conflicts. It comes under the functional conflicts. We can identify it as a behaviors that are adaptive to the situation. Person and issues of the moment are functional and constructive. As example, participants talk openly and respectively, diversify of opinions, collaborative meetings, and brainstorming sessions, and productive team works we can identify. Moving to the next slide, we can identify communication conflicts. Poor communication always results in misunderstanding within the organization. We can identify language barriers, cultural perception, semantics, misinterpretation of nonverbal cues. And I would like to hand over to the Utpala to carry on rest of the part. Thank you.
Thank you, Buddhima. My registration number is 008. So under functional conflicts, another point is that it encourages innovative thinking. Now, not all times conflicts can be regarded as bad. For example, when a group is faced with a conflict, the members will show innovative thinking. In the absence of a conflict, they might not have been creative or even might be lethargic. Therefore, we can see how functional conflicts promote creative and innovative ideas. Another fact is that it unshackles different points of views. Now, conflicts will provide an opportunity to express their views. Here, employees are encouraged to share their different views in a healthy way. For example, companies provide incentives for innovative and fresh ideas, which aids in companies' progress. And also, employees are being appreciated. Thank you. Over to you, Pratibha.
Thank you, Utpala. Let's move on to the next slide, please. Okay, reduced stagnation, which comes under functional conflicts. In this case, too much of information will occur while generating solutions in a team. Therefore, in cases as such, a mindful leader or a team member can align those information in a meaningful manner while getting ideas of the silent members. So let's move on to the next slide, please. The first one, which we identified under dysfunctional conflicts, tension, anxiety, and stress. So tension has a psychological impact which covers up with fear, imbalance of work, and conflict. In many instances, stress correlated with gender. So at the early stage, a leader or the immediate supervisor has to identify the capabilities of their individual and divide the workload among them. So that's it about tension, anxiety, and stress. We move on to the next slide. It's over to you, Teranga, to carry out the presentation.
Thank you. My registration number is 006. When we're talking about drives out low conflict tolerance people, when you have a strong tolerance for conflict, you are able to remain effective in an environment where people are expressing strong and opposing views. Many people feel uncomfortable with conflict. They fear that if they get embroiled in a dispute, they'll lose their temper around them. So they fear that conflict will damage the relationships. But conflict is an inevitable part of your professional life. Moving on to the next slide. These are the tips for developing a low conflict tolerance people. Second one is practice normalizing relationship. After conflict, practice addressing the fact of conflict directly. Moving on to the next slide. Other conflict is reduce trust. A lack of trust is in the workplace is the virus that can destroy workplace culture. It often begins with leadership and spread throughout the team, leading to a cycle of unhealthy response that affects engagement and productivity. Lack of trust is often at the core of dysfunctional office environment. Once trust is lost, it can take time and lot of work to turn around negative culture. Three directions of trust that workplace need to be healthy. The team must trust the leader must trust the team, and the team members must trust each other. I will invite Gaini to continue the presentation.
Thank you, Manish. Next slide. My number is 007. As a dysfunctional conflict, poor decisions badly affect the company procedures. The strategic decision-making process involves conflict due to its complexities and ambiguity. So the manager should take right decisions at right time. According to this example in the slide, if the top management take a poor decision, the company will face difficulties, the performance may go down, and financial difficulties may arise as well. So we can conclude decision quality is important for a company. To overcome these issues, companies can encourage positive cognitive conflicts while avoiding negative conflicts. Moving on to the next slide.
due to insufficient information, if the employees are not knowing clearly about their job role and not getting the information properly, they cannot perform well individually, and it will affect the organizational performance as well. To overcome these issues, company can build formal complaint processes, and company needs to ensure whether all employees treat fairly. It is one of the best ways to reduce the conflicts. And management need to maintain a neutral behavior at all times in order to avoid employee conflicts as well. Over to you, Jitmini.
Thank you, Gaini. So now we'll discuss about dual concern theory, which we include as a conflict management theory. So conflict management is all about having healthy benefits to the organizations and the group. Individuals may vary depending on the shown scale to your right-hand side. So according to this diagram, when you move along the x-axis right below, more cooperative, and y-axis right above, more assertive, are collaborating and compromising behaviors or relationships amongst employees are the best practices when it comes to dual concern theory when we were applying to organizations. So what is collaboration? So collaboration is basically into problem solving, working together to achieve the specific goal and develop interrelationship with others properly with the search of middle ground concern. So in order to achieve this, we have to have negotiation skills, we have to embrace the diversity within ourselves, and also be able to be flexible amongst different personalities within the company environment or employees. So the next factor is compromise. Compromise is basically conciliation, which is a style of bargaining, a high concern for both self and others. So when people are compromising, both parties can find solution and everyone will benefit from these agreements of full value. So that is the best practice dual concern theory to manage conflicts at a workplace. So we have discussed in our presentation about what a conflict is and what are the sources of conflicts, and two main types as functional and dysfunctional conflicts. And we talked upon the problems that are identified due to conflicts in a workspace environment and shared how to overcome them. And finally, we have also shared how a conflict management theory has a best practice to avoid conflicts in the organization. So that is it from our group. Thank you.
Right. So this group, it seems, done a good job. But then again, I cannot give a full marks because you haven't put any references, right? It is obvious that when the second and third group comes in, that they can perform well, but at the same time we can also understand the context, that the information, the preparation, how you put your message out, how you set the context and all that, which is there's some collaboration I can see out here. Yeah, if you have put the last one, it is Amanugama. What's your full name?
Jitmini Amanugama, sir.
Right. So the way you started, I thought you're going to put up some literature support and some statistics and all that. It's there in your conversation, but I couldn't see anything coming out your presentation. But still, I think that in your group, most of you all have done well, especially Abhay Vikramasinghe, Bandara. So, that all excellent. I didn't mention the name of the other group members, but I also made a note of it. But if you could have put some statistics and literature support, because it's there in your conversation, you're trying to come to that, but I didn't see that. If you could bring that support, that's where the real presentation coming in. You have to make sure that's coming out, especially the statistics and the literature support, which is important for the presentation like this. But in a way that I'm happy that you all did a good job here. Yeah. Next group.
Sir, we are group number 7. Shall we do it, sir?
Yes, you can. What's your number?
Group number 7, sir.
Group number 7. Your name?
I'm Harshani. Aditya, can you share the screen?
Who should be given the host permission?
Sir, Aditya, can you please tell the number?
So I am 0667.
067.
Yes, sir.
It's Aditya, okay. Okay, you can start now. Who is starting now? First?
Yashoda will start.
Who is the group leader?
Harshini.
Right.
Shall I start?
Yes, you can start. What's your number?
I am 004.
004. Okay.
Good evening, everyone. Today, our group is here to discuss about what is the communication plan, what is the need of it. Next slide, please. And these are my group members. And this is the outline of our presentation. Next slide, please. Okay, first of all, we should identify why do we need a communication plan. It ensures the success of a program planning efforts. Like mainly, it is we can use it as a like link between stakeholder and the company, or it's like it includes all the processes that are having with stakeholders and the company. Next slide, please. Okay, these are the steps involved in creating of a communication plan. First of all, we can identify the establishment of goal. Second one is definition of key audiences. Third one is the identification of key messages. Fourth one is creating the tactical outreach plan. Fifth one is developing materials. Sixth one is specifying a timeline. And the last one is post-study of the communication results. Next slide, please. Okay, in here we have created some scenario to make is our like as a base of our communication plan. We have identified in here we created a communication plan for a mass holding, and the order that they got from UK about creating some Nike brand. Which is targeting in Europe market. The quantity is 700, and we got like 11 months to like we created communication plans for 11 months. So over to Chaturika.
Thank you, Yashoda. Next slide. Right. Okay. So as my colleague mentioned earlier, once we establish the goals, communication goals and objectives, the second step of communication planning process is to identify the key audience. So next slide. When it comes to identifying key stakeholders, according to Harvard Business Review article, they have mentioned there, usually we are using these kind of questions to identify the key stakeholders, the key people that we are going to communicate. So the first question is, does the stakeholder have a fundamental impact on the organization's performance? And secondly, can you clearly identify what you want from the stakeholder? And then, is the relationship dynamic? Do you want to grow it? And can you exit without or easily replace the stakeholder? Has the stakeholder already been identified through another relationship? So by answering for these kind of questions, we can identify who are the key stakeholders that we have to address or that we have to focus on from our communication plans. Next slide, please. Next slide. Okay. So as we all know, normally we do communicate with our stakeholders. So when it comes to an organization, we have two types of stakeholders, like internal stakeholders and external stakeholders. So when we take our scenario, According to our scenario, the internal stakeholders we have identified like board of directors, general managers, and the other department managers and their employees, and raw material buyers, their coordinators and all. And when it comes to external stakeholders, we have identified that government and other regulatory bodies, media, general public, competitors, and foreign buyers. So next slide. Once we identified those key stakeholders, then we should see how to reach the target audience. So for that one, we have one tool. We can do a target audience analysis, and we can see how to reach the target audience. We can analyze their demographic factors, what is the language that we have to use, what is the mode of the mode that we have to use in order to communicate the message, and what are the visualization tactics or the methods that we can use. So those kind of things we can identify by doing this target audience analysis. So that sums my part. I invite Nalika to continue the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Chaturika. I am MBA 2019-045. Next slide, please. Key message. Kim Harrison in 2020 defined messaging is the key to achieving the target of communication plan. Also, key message of the communication plan is the message you targeted audience to see or hear. Further, Kim Harrison defined that the key message create focus, control, and intensity in influencing target audience. Next slide. Then we see how to develop the key message. When we develop key message, we should ensure are there answers for some questions like is it addressed to important issues of the key audience? Will it be a guidance to think and to do? And can it be foundation for communication strategy? Then we see what is the framework of key message. Next slide, please. I use this structure to introduce the framework of the key message in action. This is the key message in this building. The roof is act as the key message. Also, that roof is standing on the sub three messages, and when we develop a quality key message, we can use only 3 sub messages. Both these key message and sub messages are standing on the foundation. That foundation will be strengthened with basically using statistic details and other primary documents and that type of basic ideas. Next slide, please. When we develop the key message, we should have to follow that key message have this type of quality features. Concession, strategic and relevant, compelling, simple and memorable, relatable and tailored. That are the features. Before we deliver the message, we should ensure our message has these type of quality features. Next slide. When we develop our key message according to our scenario, we can use basically some our scenario is that one garment item completion task, that garment item design order completing date will be only in the key message. Further, I mentioned previously, we can use that sub messages like sizes, colors, features, and some demographical factors will be included in that 3 messages. And foundation will be based on the commercial invoices, quotations, and some financial factors. So then I will invite to Buddhimati to continue this presentation.
Just hold on, Nalika. What's your number? You have mentioned the 045.
045 is a MBA, PGM MBA 2019-045. WN in Vijay Singh.
2019-045. I think
yes,
your
Sir, I firstly registered to previous batch.
Okay. That's what I was confused. Right. Yeah. Okay, fine.
Okay, shall I continue?
Yeah.
I am Gundimati Karunaratne. My registration number is PGD 073. Firstly, I am indicating here the creating a tactical outreach plan is one of the communication basic function of the communication plan. It is actually communication plan is a good media relations program. It shapes the opinions of the individuals and organization. There we have to think about how it impacted the company community. There we need to identify the local issues and address them in positive and attentive manner. So favorable opinions are needed to generate the support of the all the employees and the stakeholders. Therefore, when preparing variety of tactics we used when preparing the communication plan. The main thing is developing the media list and then creating an advisory board. Then again, we have to train the persons for media as a media spokesman and setting up board meetings and arranging one-on-one meetings with key persons are the main strategies that we have to conduct when we planning the outreach, when we prepare an outreach plan. Next slide. And we are considering the key persons in the company. My colleague mentioned that there are some key audiences in the communication plan. So these key audiences can be addressed in various ways. In face-to-face discussions and virtual discussions also going on nowadays, virtual meetings. And also the further we can address them in letters, mail, emails, and reports by using the reports and checklists, financial statements, and board meetings. Also main part taken place at that time. And each and every stakeholder can be addressed in various ways. One-on-one communication also needed for next slide. Next slide. One-on-one communication also use for the internal communication. Then the next slide. And we talk about the strategies, a few strategies. There we need to prepare an advisory board also. The advisory board already is in the mass holding company, but in according to the developmental proposals, projects, then sometimes they may be varies, but here mainly advisory board is function as the main key holder. And also the spokesman may be the advisory committee members time to time according to their units, planning units, HR unit. Likewise, these units may function as members function as key managers. Okay, that's all my part, and I would like to invite to carry on this to Mr. Aditya.
Thank you, Buddhimati. Now we are going to identify the preliminary materials that will support to the communication plan. Those are the factors that will base to solid communication plan. As you can see, there is some materials, and I pick some to clarify. The first one is internal communication media. In mass holdings, they have adapted to a intercom system that creates the department-wise communication very effectively, and every individual employee can keep in touch with organization without spending much time and effort. Then the other one is email groups. Email groups can be used as internal and external information sharing method, which is very helpful to share information easily and informative way. Nowadays, mailing system using for every kind of authorized document internally and externally. Then the other one is B-rolls. This will be a very useful to get real idea about our task. In this context, fashion shows, dressmaking, practical sessions can be identified as the example for this. This will be an effective message transformation pattern, highly attract in the modern world. Now it's up to you, Chamisi.
Okay. My index number is 0262. So I'll be talking about the time frame. If we move to the next slide, as you can see, this is the time frame of the manufacturing process. We have taken the manufacturing process of MAS Holdings, and it can be divided into 4 main categories. That is design, protocol, tech design, manufacturing. But also at the same time, we can divide this to subcategories, as we can see in the time frame. So the whole process takes 11 months, but this can be exceeded based on the different kind of circumstances. It can be differ. Each and every process, each and every task, communication is an important role that plays. To have a better process, communication is very important. So now if we move on to the final stage, that is the conclusion. A communication plan is a process-driven approach to provide stakeholders with information. What makes a process more successful is based on the communication. The more you communicate, the more successful you communicate, the more you provide information, the process becomes a successful process. So from this presentation, we try to show you the main communication plan and what are the importance throughout the communication plan, why it is important, and how it impacts on the manufacturing process. So thank you very much for listening to the presentation. If there is any other questions, please be free to ask from any of our team members.
Any questions from anyone? It's good that you have put the reference at the end, but you should have put the reference at the appropriate place. That would have given you much more prominence. So any questions from the audience? I have 2 questions. Hashini, who started the conversation, you have mentioned about target audience analysis.
Yes, sir.
What is the rationale? Where is the reference? How did you come up with that?
I didn't get the question, sir. That means?
The target audience analysis that you are briefing about how the target audience analysis should be done.
Yes, sir.
But you haven't explained who is, from where you took that information. What is the reference? So then you should have discussed about that. According to so and so.
Yes.
You have to start like that. So do you have a reference for that?
Yes, sir. I have mentioned that in my in our document, the Word document, but not here. I just explained that verbally. Because of the time constraint, I didn't explain about that much.
Right. Next person, the number 45, 2019. That's his name.
WNN Vijay Singh, sir. Nalika.
Vijay Singh, yeah, Vijay Singh. Now, you have mentioned about framework. So, which framework where you took it as a reference?
So, according to Kim Harrison's 2020 document.
Okay. But it's there in the documentation, right? Right. So now is Rasika 68. Have you attended the classes last week, previous week and all that? Number 68, Rasika. Are you there? Rasika is part of this group 7 project, right?
No, sir. 67, Aditya is there, not 68.
Okay. Right. Yeah, that's what I was wondering. I think, but she's been mentioned as group 7. Rasika. Is number 68 is here available today?
Sir, we have one group member, sir. She didn't present today. I think she's having an issue.
Bhagya.
Yes, sir.
Right. Right. Next group.
We are group number 3.
Group number 3. Okay.
So we can't share the screen.
You have to tell me who is going to share, then I can.
Number 21.
Okay.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, sir. Start.
You can start.
Okay. Very good afternoon for all. We are from group number 3. Then we are going to discuss about a plan for minimizing possible conflict in ABC Company Private Limited. Moving to next slide. These are our team members that we are going to present during the presentation. So when it's come to the ABC company, moving to next slide. When it's come to the ABC company, there are around 250,000 employees working there, and also their main objective is give the best to give the best and most relevant product to their people. So here we are going to discuss about what are the possible conflict situation and how we are going to overcome or minimize those conflict situation. Also, we are going to give some suggestion for how to overcome those situation by analyzing the conflict situation. So I would like to invite my colleague to present the rest of the part.
Thanks, Aman. So let's see introduction definition of conflict. So conflict means it's a clash among individuals arising out of a difference in thoughts, thought process, attitudes, understanding, interest, requirements, and even sometimes perception. So that's a definition of the conflict. So next, let's see the nature of the conflicts. Next slide, please. Okay. Conflict may beneficially be viewed resulting from differing belief systems and varied perspectives on the situation. And conflict may be a site of procedure we put ourselves through to attain a new condition and self-definition. So this is the definition and the nature of the conflict. So now I will invite Suhail to present the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Prashanti. I'm Suhail and my registration number is 27. The conflicts, according to the levels of the conflict, we have derived 4 levels of conflicts, which are interdivisional, intergroup, and intra-group and organizational conflict. Interdivisional conflict is arising between perceiver and the other individual in the organization. Sometimes that other individual may not be aware of it even. Intra-group is perceiver and the immediate group member with the group he or she having a conflict, and intergroup conflict is conflict between 2 groups, and organizational conflict is conflicts of organizational policy or values that workers having a conflict, such kind of thing. And according to the types of the conflict, we can derive a lot of conflicts like community conflicts, emotional conflict, environmental group conflict, etc. Move on to the next slide. When we analyzing there, we found there are 4 main broad causes for this conflict, which are authority relationship, management styles, and communication barrier and personal factors. Authority relationship is according to the hierarchy and job level. How to manage management is manage the employees, and communication here is the people can't understand.
Others, can you mute your mic, please? Somebody is 28. Who's 28? Maheshika. Maheshika, can you mute your mic, please?
Personal factors contains religious factors, cultural factors, and emotional factors, and his ability to manage them. Thank you. Tanya will continue from next slide.
Thank you, Suhail. I'm 026. So now I'm going to discuss about what are the ways of addressing conflicts when minimization. My first point is understand the situation. Mainly we have to understand what is the situation is, then we can take the decisions. So before we try to settle the conflict, we have to ensure that we have to investigate both sides of the issue. Moving on to my second, that is acknowledge the problem. Acknowledging the frustration and concerns is an important step to resolving the conflicts. And my third point is wording called haste makes waste. So we have to take our time and evaluate all information. So 2 quick decisions are not good. We have to take our time and take the decisions. And my fourth point is avoid using caution and intimidation. And my fifth point is focus on the problem, not the individual. Mainly we have to focus about the problem and focus on identifying and resolving the conflicts. We can't think about the individual or the one party. Mainly we have to think about the problem. And my last point is establish guidelines. Mainly we have to establish what are the rules and regulations, guidelines likewise. Then we can take the decisions and we can tell them that if you violate those guidelines, the meeting will come to an end likewise. So these are the steps that we can follow to minimize conflicts in an organization. So further clarifications, now it's over.
Thank you, Tanya.
let's move on to the next slide. If you are considering about to minimize the conflicts within an organization, we have to keep very good communication between the parties, those who have involved in any conflict. So we have to keep the communication open, and we have to act at the right time, right decision we have to take, and without taking the right act at the right decision, the conflicts will flow. Therefore, we have to take the right decision at the right time, and we have to act on that. So, and we can provide some conflict resolution trainings to the employees overall to make them to identify the conflict well, and they can give some solutions by improving their skills. They can give very good skill in resolving conflicts within an organization, and also provide communication skills training to avoid conflicts within an organization is some of the things that we can do within an organization. Also, we can help staff to develop positive work relationships to get very good understanding within an organization. We know that we have diverse workforce. Therefore, we can help our staff to get positive work relationships within each and every one by improving their skills in having very good relationships. And also we can implement team building activities to make a very collaborative and team supportive team within an organization to avoid most of the conflicts. Basically, based on personal factors and some of the communication barriers, we can avoid through this type of steps that if we can follow within an organization to minimize the conflicts within an organization. And it's over to you, Mihiri, to continue the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Imali. Thank you, Imali. Here I am also going to further explain more strategic actions that can apply when implementing a plan for minimizing possible conflicts in ABC organization. Developing strong communication channels that allow for all the level of employees to present their real feelings is a good way to minimize the conflicts within the organization. Create an environment that encourages participation, conduct conflicts mediation training programs, make aware employees about organizational goals and priorities, and treat everyone fairly are some other strategic actions that can take when planning to minimize conflicts. That's all about our presentation, and wish to further clarify under those topics in our report. And those are the references we are using when make the report. Thank you.
Yeah, can I, is there any question from other members? If not, we can move on to the next group, which is still group 2. Group 4 and group 5 to present, right?
Hello.
Yeah.
So we are group 2. We would like to go next, and I'll be sharing the screen 009. So.
Okay. Yes, you can start.
So shall I start?
Yes, we can start. Who is starting?
My name is Darshini Sandamali, number 019.
Okay.
Right. Very good afternoon to you all. We are group number 2. Our given topic was interpret the potential causes of resistance in the organization. Identify and describe three potential causes of resistance to your change plan. So moving to the next slide. These are our group members. My number is last, group 019. Moving to the next slide. Here, let's begin with the brief description about the company background. We have selected Nokia. Nokia is one of the world's largest mobile phone manufacturer, established 1865. And Nokia main 4 business groups are mobile, multimedia, enterprises solutions, and network. Nokia provides mobile communication equipments for every major market over the world. Moving to the next slides, we are going to discuss the change plan. Brian will explain what is change plan.
Okay, so a change plan is a basic foundation which would define the steps towards implementing and executing a change management process within an organization. And the reason as to why it is important is simply because of finding new avenues and alternatives, and capitalize on them in order to gain a competitive advantage within the organization. So ADKAR is a model which was developed by Jeff White in 2003, and this is a 5-step process which would further elaborate on how change within an organization, and this is more or less targeted towards the learning and development of an employee. So starting off with awareness, this is where the company needs to educate their employees on why this change is happening and create a certain urgency. Desire is all about training the employees in order to create a persuasive desire towards absorbing the change plan. Knowledge is all about disclosing how the employee would be benefited as a result of the proposed change plan. Ability would be the company's responsibility in order to check on the employee's skill set and technicality, and in case if there is any gaps identified, then the company has to bridge those gaps by conducting and providing adequate training. Reinforcement is the last step, where this is where the company needs to make sure that there's no turning back with the implemented change plan, and they'll have to also make sure that the employees are comfortable with the change plan which is already being implemented. So Bhanuka will be continuing with the presentation.
Thank you, Brian. And I'll be discussing why Nokia need change plan. And my registration number is 015. And I'll be focusing on 3 main points. New product obsolescence. So as you all know, innovation is the key to stay relevant and push the boundaries of technology. But as demand for Nokia phones grew in 2000 to 2007, their focus shifted to manufacturing to fulfill those demands. It focused less on innovation and more on mass production, and as a result, they failed to innovate. And my second point is not adapting to marketing trends. In October 1998, Nokia became the best-selling mobile phone brand in the industry. The best-selling mobile phone of all time, the Nokia 110, was created in 2003. 2007, Apple introduced new phone, which is the mobile where Nokia could compete with the available technology. And the management team was struggling to find a response to change environment. Software was taking a precedence over hardware as the critical competitive feature in the industry. At the same time, the importance of application ecosystem was becoming apparent, but as a dominant industry leader, Nokia lacked the skills and inclination to engage with this new way of working. Collaborative leadership style will be mandatory. The policy of closed doors will be quickly, which means innovation process should be encouraged at all levels, but for these leaders have to learn again how to properly listen to their customers, partners, and employees. And my final point is employee morale. Nokia culture of status has led to an atmosphere of shared fear, which influenced how employees were interacting with each other. The human factor was added to an economic and structural factors, and together they have generated a state of temporal fear that hindered Nokia's ability to innovate. Employees stated that top managers and directors were no longer abiding by Nokia's core value of respect, challenge, achievement, and renewal. This point out the paramount importance of shared emotions among employees and their powerful impact on the company's competitiveness. So therefore, these points shows that why Nokia needs change plan. And I'm inviting Hashandi to continue the presentation.
Yes, thank you, Bhanuka. I am Hashanti Jayakuru, number 016. Now we are going to discuss what are the changes Nokia did. Change is the transaction from one level to another level in the organization. Changes include empowering all methods that work and developing new methods. On previously, Nokia brand is failed. That is the main reason we introduced to change in their organization. on previously Nokia brand is failed. So we after we introduced, so Nokia have done their changes under structural, technological, and the cultural changes wise. First one is the next slide, please. Brian, next.
Yeah, Hashan, the screen is stuck.
First one is the structural change. It means company internal and the external changes. Previously, Nokia had a bureaucratical management style. It includes hierarchy, job specialization, formal roles like that. But after Nokia has shifted its organizational structure to a horizontal structure, it allows for the great flexibility and the speedy communication system. Next is the technological change. It means technological achievement and the technological progress. Nokia was mainly focused on the developing advanced hardware of the phones, not on the developing advanced software. Then after they shifted to the use more advanced technology in developing software features of their phones. Next is the cultural change. Cultural change is the what are the behaviors that affect how people act within the organization. In previously, they haven't any flexibility cultural for their employees, but now organization, along with the flexibility in decision making, they believe provide the equal opportunity for the people. Those are the changes Nokia did. And next, I invite to Tiniti to continue the presentation.
Thank you, Hashanti. So let me explain what resistance is. The oldest and strongest emotion of mankind is fear. And the oldest and strongest kind of fear is fear of the unknown, stated H.P. Lovecraft in 1920. This is relevant to the present day world when humans try to adapt to changes. Most of the time, we voluntarily tend to resist changes because changes are unbearable, and as humans, we show some reluctance to unlearn what we have learned and practiced from the past. Workplace resistance means that the change is resisted at the level of the organization itself. Due to reluctance, employees aren't encouraged to share new ideas, neither innovations are accepted. There are several sources of organizational resistance. They are structural inertia, limited focus of change, group inertia, etc. At times, resistance could be something positive as well. Discussing on the changes to be done could bring insight. Hence, unseen problems of changes could come into vision. So now I invite my colleague to proceed with the presentation. Thank you.
Right. In these slides, we are going to discuss causes of resistance in Nokia. We have divided the resistance under two categories, individual resistance and organization resistance. Under individual resistance, we have selected economic factor and mistrust and lack of confidence. Under organizational resistance, we have selected sunk cost. Let's start with the economic factor. Here we have mentioned three factors: technological changes, high standards, and the productivity. In Nokia, the employees resist to change due to the technology because they got scared that technology changes will lead them their unemployment. And the second one is the high standard, which means the high standard reduce opportunity for bonus and the incentive. And finally, the productivity. Employees got feared because they thought that if they couldn't perform well for the new task that they have assigned, so that will affect to their salary, and the salary will decrease. The second point is mistrust and lack of confidence. Under that, we have mentioned the rational resistance, emotional resistance, and the personal resistance. Rational resistance means in Nokia, due to the rational resistance happen because the disagreements with the data and the critical informations and the lack of the information, this happened. And the emotional resistance, when emotional resistance happen, employees' blood pressure goes up and their pulse rate goes up. They are getting feared. And the personal resistance, which means the employees show that they are like for the changes, but inside they are again for the changes. And the sunk cost mean we know the environment is changing very rapidly, and as a company, Nokia, which we utilize the money, which we spend money for something, we know we cannot recover that. So Nokia has spent for the new office equipment, they have recruited new staff. So those thing goes on flop. So this occurs the sunk cost. So moving to the next slide, I would like to invite my next colleague to continue the presentation.
Finally, let's see how company like Nokia overcome the resistance to the change. First, they can use.
Who is presenting it now?
018.
18.
018.
Okay.
First, Nokia, to overcome the resistance, they can use education and communication, where they can communicate clearly the purposes of the change management plan and give a clear knowledge to the employees on what is going to happen within the organization. That way, the employees have more understanding about the change plan. Then they can get the participation and involvement of the employees to the change management plan. Thirdly, they can use facilitation and support. For a company like Nokia, they have gone drastical change in the technology within the change management plan. But if the companies fail to provide needed support and facilities, training, knowledge to the employees on how this change plan is going to implement within the organization, employees will be discouraged to adapt to the change. As a fourth step, the company can use negotiation and agreement where the both parties, employees and management, will be satisfied about the change management plan. And finally, the company can use, if the employees are keep on resisting to the change, explicit and implicit coercion, where the management can communicate the negative consequences of not implementing the change management plan to the employees, monetary and non-monetary benefits. That's the end of our presentation, and these are the references that we have used for our report and slide presentation. Thank you.
Okay, there's one more person to present, right? 09, Samuel.
I did, sir.
You did?
Yes, I was the second presenter.
Can you switch on your camera? Okay, all right, okay. Right, so yeah, sorry, I marked it as yes. Okay, so good. Shall we move to the next one? Because you have taken a lot of time. Huh? Should have been done. There's another 2 more presentations to be completed. You are given only 7 minutes, but you are taking more than double the time. Next group, who is going to do the next group?
Sir, I'm the one who group number 4.
Number 4.
Yeah.
Your number? 30.
030. Yeah.
Please do it quickly, because it's not longer time that I'm looking at. Within short time, who is going to do their best?
Am I audible to you, sir?
Yes.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, sir. We are group number 4. Our topic is relationship between resistance to change and communication. So these are our members. I am PAPNK Patiraja. My index number is 032. We will take you through this content to cover. So first of all, I will brief you what is the resistance to change. So in the slide it says resistance to change can be described as reluctance of people to adapt to the changes, And also this may mostly due to fear of facing the unknown or the negative effects that they believe to come from the change. So changes can be planned or unplanned, and most of the organizations recently changed their processes and other things due to globalization and technological advancements. So resistance to change is not a good thing, and it is threat to the organization. So creating a culture with strong communication which encourage change is the main and easiest way to handling the resistance. And resistance can be either individual or collective. So next slide, please, Pamodar. Now you can see what are the signs of resistance to change. So we have divided resistance to change into two aspects. It's active and passive. These two aspects are aspects we have divided based on the behavioral aspects. Behavioral aspects is means how people act upon the change. So active signs occurs when people are taking specific and deliberate actions to show the resistance to change. So you can see there are some signs included to active signs. They are criticisms, nitpickings, sarcastic remarks and missed meetings, endless arguments, and sabotage. Sabotage means intentional damage, doing intentional damages to employers' property. So if you are a manager, then you have to take disciplinary actions against the active resistance, but the close supervision is more encouraged. Then other type of signs is passive signs. Here employees do not take specific actions, but they show the resistance impliedly. As an example, at meetings, they will sit quietly and do not respond, and they seems to be appear or seems to be to the change, but it is not like that. Some of other signs included into passive signs are passive signs.
Can you move to the next slide? Can you move to the next slide? Yep.
Okay. I will. Hello.
3, 4.
So I will invite Pamodar to continue the presentation.
Thank you, I'm Pamodar, registration number 034, and I'm here to explain about reasons for resisting change. There are plenty of various reasons why employees resist change in the workplace. One of the major reasons why employees may resist change is because of bad management of change. Over the past few years, there has been a spike in technological growth. And at this point, we are in the information age, which has created changes in the global economy. And the business environment has forced organizations to change the way they do business. Diagnosing the reasons for resisting change within an organization can be critical when trying to minimize employees' resistance to the change. List of below describe above said, and shock and fear of unknown, because some employees may feel the need to hold on the past because it was more predictable and secure for them. If the employees didn't have a problem with how things they are, they may resist changing their behavior out of fear that they will not achieve as much in the time in the future. And the other reasons are bad communication strategy, loss of job, lack of control. And I would like to introduce my colleague to carry out the next segment of our presentation.
Thank you, Pamodar. So I'm going to present about how to overcome resistance to change. There are 6 approaches as techniques to handle resistance to change. Education and communication can be used in situations where there is lack of information or inaccurate information, because people are more likely to resist change when they are uncertain about its consequences. The next one is participation and involvement. It can be used when we need organizational members to embrace the change. We can involve employees directly in planning and implementing the change.
facilitation and support. When people are resisting because of adjustment problems, organizations can provide different supportive efforts to reduce resistance, such as providing emotional supports through counseling and therapy and skill training, etc. Next one is negotiation and agreement. In order to mitigate resistance to change, we can come to a negotiated agreement with potential resistors. For example, by offering financial incentive, we can encourage people to change their way of behaving. And the final one is the coercion. In coercion, implicitly or explicitly, organizations can threaten members to accept the change. So that's all about my part. Next, I will invite Dushantini.
Thank you, Pavitra. Pavitra. For communication, communication is the act of transferring the information from one person to or one place or group to another. So we can have the types of communication as spoken or verbal.
You don't have a camera with you?
Yes, sir. I am switching on the camera, but it's not supporting, sir.
Okay.
We have the types of communication. One is spoken and verbal or verbal communication, which includes the face-to-face, telephone, radio, or television, or other media. Non-verbal communication covering the body language, gestures, how we dress or act. And the written communication, which includes letters, emails, social media, books, magazines, and the internet, other media. And visualization communication, which includes graphs and charts, maps, logos, and other visualization, can all communicate messages. Communication is both effective and ineffective according to whom is addressing the given audience.
Can you move to the next slide? Can you move to the next slide, please?
Okay.
Thank you, Dushantini. I'm MVP Maheshika. My registration number is 028. Relationship between communication and resistance to change is an important factor during the changes processing in every organization. When the resistance to change is low within an organization, change effort will return be more productive and successful. The relationship between resistance to change and communication is based on how the resistant is influenced by different communication strategy. So this topic we can divide it to as relationship between strong communication and the relationship resistant to change, and the relationship between poor communication and resistant to change. First, we'll see the strong communication and resistant to change. Communication should be proactive. So good communication is an influence understanding of the changes, hence minimizing the resistance. The employees are the end use of the change environment of changing system.
Can you move to the next slide? I got the point. That's why I'm asking you to move to the next slide.
Okay, Dimuthu, over to you.
So about the conclusion part, as per our presentation, we discussed the relationship between resistance to change and communication. In that case, one of main phases of change management is resistance to change. It can be individual, group, or organizational. This behavior is in active and passive manner. And we identified as reasons like shock and fear of unknown, and mainly lack of communication for resistance to change. We can use some tactics to overcome resistance to change. Give education and good communication, negotiation, provide facilities and support to employees. And we identify the act of
Next slide.
It's all from our presentation.
Right. So anyone else to be presented, or everyone is presented?
Everyone presented.
Presented. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Fine. So right. Good. You all have done some work, but then again, you know that when you're presenting it, still things should have been improved. But overall, yeah, I'm okay. Yeah, even others also, I didn't say okay and all that, but pretty much under control. Don't worry. So can we start with group 5 quickly, because you are being given 5 minutes, but you are taking more than 10 minutes. Not 10, actually you all took almost 12 to 13 minutes. Next group, group 5. Hold on. Group 5 is presented. Yes, group 5 is presented. Yes. Anyone else? No one has left, right? Okay. Right. So, sorry, I wanted to take a little longer session, but you all have taken more session than me. So then I have to kind of reduce my session. Okay. Where is this? Change management. Okay, let's start with the lectures today, because I have very little time to cover, but a lot more to cover as well. I hope you all can see my screen.
Yes, sir.
Right. So on today's session, I really wanted to get this hands-on a lot of areas in terms of change management. That but I'll try my level best to that cover as much as possible. But rest of the thing we have to take it to the next week. Okay. Now there will be, I supposed to give you the quiz also towards the end of the session, and you're supposed to get the marks for that as well. Before I start that, I hope you have received the link to upload your assignments. I show only one group has uploaded. Please, others also, please upload it. I have shared the link on the chat group as well. I'm going to give you the marks. I'm going to go through the documentation and I'm going to give you the marks accordingly. Here in today's session, I'm expecting. Sir? Yes.
Sir, excuse me. Sir, we tried to upload our document, but right. It shows the capacity is not enough. But we upload our PowerPoint presentation. It's okay, but another report it's difficult to upload to that link, sir. What would we have to do?
Enough.
Yes.
Okay, and then what I do is I will create another this thing for that. Let me see whether I can quickly do that. Okay, I'm giving another one called additional file or report, right? Now on this specific file, it's maximum size 10 MB. So I think I should be able to increase. Must be you all must be using a larger file. So.
Sir, excuse me, do
yes.
we have to individually add to that document or
no,
is that group leader?
You can upload as at least a group leader can do it.
All right, okay, thank you.
I just mark it as additional file or report. That's option. When I select it, I should have given the larger file. I'll just make it to 100 MB. Allow only specific file type. Now I'll just leave it any file type. Yeah, fine. So I have added another field. So anyone who is unable to upload it, you can use that. Huh? Fine.
Thank you, sir.
Right. This week, we're supposed to discuss about fundamentals of change management. And next week, I'm supposed to discuss about how we can transform the organization towards exponential growth. Now, during your presentation, I have noticed that you'll have covered most of the areas. But I didn't see that you all come up with a story. Now, the example, Nokia example that you all have taken, which is good example. Then again, what was the story behind that? It didn't come out well. So you'll have to bring that out. So, but this is a good exercise. I'm sure you will bring that out during the exam. Why I let you all do this presentation, go through this exercise and writing the report and all that, so that you'll get that practice hands-on, and you should be able to that do the same thing during the exam also. Not the same question, but slightly different way. But I will make your life easier to come up with a good answer. Present it in a nice way, rather than making your life difficult with the unknown things. I'll get you something very known thing, what has been discussed in the class, what has been presented by you, but you will have to, that write a good answer. Okay, so in a very presentable way. That's what I expect from you. Okay. Now, let's start with this today's session of change management. Now, this Alan Watts is talking about the only way to make the success, a sense out of this change is to plug into it, and then you move with it and join the dance. So many times the organization to choose to implement a project that will have impact on the organizations. For example, in your organization, you might be implementing time attendance systems or email systems or whatever the traditional paper to electronic transitions, and change from primary, print into the electronic media sort of thing. Introducing new technologies like digital marketing strategy, and that various things which is currently taking place. Nowadays that we are talking about distribution of workspace. Previously, our office location is just one place, so a couple of places. Now, of course, it is distributed across the country in large organizations. That's a situation. So therefore, with this pandemic, now we are allowing that working from home and all that. So the management, the organization, senior management has to undertake these projects, especially these transformative projects that I have highlighted. They believe that there is a sufficient gain for the organization to recover the expenses in terms of money and all that, because on the one hand you have a cost saving also, because your office, there's no electricity, there's no administrative cost and all that, and telephone cost has all gone down, AC, no ACs and all that, and you can cut down the cost in terms of other administrative activities. But the management would think that, okay, now those things can be invested on. I mean, that doesn't mean that the organization have the entire cost saving due to this exercise, but it's to cater, to subsidize that work and get this work done through the employees. You have to invest sometime more towards this technology. Mostly the management is moved forward with the basic understanding of that everyone's interest, especially how an individual can be effectively commit themselves to contribute towards success of the organization. That otherwise, if the management is rude and they they try to get things done, whatever they want, but without looking after the employee side on how they can be, how they are going to achieve the job, what is required to be achieved and all that. Especially that's going to create a lot of issues in the organization also. The reason is like, that we are into this changing environment. So we have to get into that and see how the change is happening, and we have to move on with this and then see what best that we can take it out. So that is the bottom line message that we had to take it from here. What are we going to achieve this? Now, if you look at the history, how it has been evolved, right? So there is a quote, I think there is a world market maybe for 5 computers. So can you imagine who would have told this story, right? This was told by Thomas Watson, the chairman of IBM, in 1943. So today, you see that IBM is no more into computer business. One time, IBM was the leader. Okay, so because that's how the organizations thought about it, right? Now they are focusing on. Now, when they started, they thought there's going to be 5 computers, which is enough for the entire world. Right now, they are heavily focusing on artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, analytics, and other industry-related solutions than the box selling. Even they are moved out of the servers. They are removing major solutions also, even some of the database also, because those are the areas which is, that they see the potential, how the world is moving towards, and how it was before in 1943. When they predict it's only 5 computers can serve the purpose of the entire world. Let's look at what Bill Gates said in 1981, right? He says that 640 kilobytes should be enough memory for anybody. You would have seen in many films or even the articles, posters and all that, social media posts and all that, how big the size of 1 megabyte, it's like one room size, right? Still, I think there is the oldest one at Peradeniya University. So today, the single individual carry at least minimum of 1 gigabyte to 1 terabyte of data capacity. You can't imagine to begin a day without data in place. So it is actually not 1 GB, right? Just imagine what is the capacity of your phone, mobile phone. And today you can't start a day without 1 GB of data package. Forget about your storage. We have gone to that level, right? We haven't still gone to the full potential also. So that is the era that we are getting into now. Whatever the changes, transformation which have supposed to happen 5 years later, it already happened today. So therefore, we got to understand where the entire world is moving towards. Now, the examples that you brought in, of course, I understand from your context, right? But however, rarely I see anyone is picking up what is the current change which is required, right? That I was actually trying to get your thinking. Where are you coming from? What is the background? And what do you see as a world? And that's why I wanted to take this session after you all did that, so that I can correctly map it with what do you have, what is your objective, and how we can change that. Unless we change the mindset, it's going to be, that difficult to cope up or adhere to the whatever the current environment. Okay. So here the Ken Osloon, which says that the president of Digital Equipment Corporation was pioneering in America in the computer industry in 1977. Right? He said that there is no reason that anybody would like to have a personal computer at home. So digital is the leader in computer industry in 1977. Right? So they started in 1960. So they were there until 1990. So they started in 1960, 1977. They said there's no reason why anyone should have a computer, personal computer at home. So 1990s, they vanished because they didn't have the vision to see how the world is going to change. So then the Digital Equipment Corporation, which is called DEC, which was acquired by Compaq. That acquisition happened in 1998. Compaq is now, they have like Packard, HP now, right? So what is at that time the largest merger in the IT industry or the computer industry, which is the digital or the Digital Equipment Corporation and the Compaq acquisition. So why it happens? The digital didn't realize the potential which is going to come up. So then why I'm trying to highlight this IBM or even Microsoft, you see that it is even though they are the leader, but if you look at Google, they've taken over most of their business. Apple taken over most of their business. Amazon, a big chance now. If you look at that, Microsoft is no more. Right? So others have taken over because they didn't see they knew it is happening. But how they took it, accordingly, their visions and all that missions were set up. So then others were fast enough to capitalize whatever opportunities which came out. Right? So what we see out here is the digital disruption. These brands that what you see today, it's almost disappeared. These are big brands, right? Kodak, Thomas Cook, right? So here you can see these disruptions are happening around you. Today we see that. So these big brands that are here, it's really old, but they have lost their journey to this digital disruption which is happening today. These digital disruptions are actually the signals of fourth industrial revolution. We are currently into that. So that is what we have to understand. If the organization don't understand that, they are going to bust, right? So what happens to Kodak? Anyone can tell the story about Kodak? It's a famous story. So when you brought up Nokia, I was expecting something like that. Can anyone bring up the Kodak story? Kodak story, what happens was when the digital camera came in, they thought they will, now what Kodak does is they had, that previously if you want to take a photograph, we have to go to the studio. Today, what we do, it's very rarely we go to the studio. We just take a selfie, or we have everyone has a very good quality camera in their mobile phone. They just get whatever the photos, whatever digital images they wanted, even photocopies, scanners, all vanishing off today. Right? So when did you visit to the communication or in your office last 2 years? I can't recall that when did I scan my last document. Of course, when we are at office, we do that. Same thing goes to camera. Kodak thought they can fight against digital camera, and they went ahead and invested huge amount, a couple of $1 billion across the world, setting up their physical stores. They thought they can improve their customer experience and all that, and they can retain that market. But they couldn't foresee the digital camera could easily, that it's going to be with everyone's hand. As a result, if they have invested on digital camera, they could have captured the market. But they thought they can overkill that market, and they just went ahead and invested on the physical stores and improving on that physical camera itself, the high quality camera itself. Finally, they've just vanished. So the same story is going to happen for organization who is not going to adopt to those changes. Today, we are seeing that a lot of startups becoming $1 billion, and some of the large organizations are blowing up, and some of them are becoming, the $1 trillion organization. For example, the Microsoft, Apple, Google, Amazon. At the same time, there are newcomers: WhatsApp, Dropbox. You see the Airbnb, Uber, YouTube. These just came to the market. Alibaba, when these came, just within 5 years, right? They become number one. So likewise, if you take every single technology out here, what you see, all are just came there. It is one side. What you're seeing is organization is dying of disruption of some of these scaling. Some of these are scaling at a very exponential, and these things we have never seen in the past, right? So they are actually delivering the success which investors and the management they were expected to deliver. Now you would have seen that how the technology companies are growing up, booming up, right? So why it is happening now? If you look at the history of this industrial transformation, Industry 1.0, which is mainly talking about mechanism, steam power, and the waving, looming, and all that. The Industry 2.0 is mainly talking about mass production, assembly line, and electrical energy, and so on. And Industry 3.0 is mostly in the automation and computers and electronics. This is the era where the telecommunication is stabilized and all sort of industrialization, when it comes to computerization, automation, everything happens. But we thought that's the ultimate. But these changes, to look at how the Industry 2.0 happens, mass production, assembly line, and all that, they started somewhere in the matured industry market, the Western countries. Then they have to deliver the goods to the rest of the world. So when the demand is increasing, they have to create the demands and push it. When the demand is increasing, then they started setting up their production line across the countries. This is how we got our industrial zone. Take Kattanayake industrial zone or any of the industrial zone. If you go to India, there are many industrial zones. Likewise, Vietnam, China, Bangladesh, this part of the world. Why? They get cheaper labor, and also they can sell it out to easy to ship. They can cut down the cost in terms of transportation and logistics. So it's easy to manage that transportation and all that. What China does it today, the Silk Road, one through land, one through sea, same story. But those happens from one location, and gradually it has come to the next levels. Rest of the place, it takes a lot of time for us to get into that. Those days, if you look at the computers or TVs or cameras or anything, the vehicles or anything that coming out, it will take at least 3 to 5 years to reach us. Today, the next minute, they release it there, next day we will have it here. Because we are into Industry 4.0 or the digital transformation or the exponential growth. The exponential growth, it's not happening in series, but it can happen without boundaries. It can take effect immediately. So that is the era that we are living in. So we have to understand where the world is moving towards. The organization, the people who understand that, they can make the change and they can adopt to the change, and they should be able to cope up with whatever the new things which is coming up. So actually we involved with the digital from 1970s, right? So when the time we started wearing the digital watches. So today we are living in an era where we are doing and we are living in digital. So the digital transformation, what you're talking about is the migration of organization or the industry from Industry 3.0 to 4.0, which should create that exponential growth, exponential organization to create that exponential growth. So we will be discussing about how exponential organization are being created and they are building for the today's requirement and all that. Now, this fourth industrial revolution, which is Klaus Schwab, is the founder and executive chairman of World Economic Forum. He says that the fourth industrial revolution will affect very essence of our human experience. We are at the beginning of a revolution that is fundamentally changing the way we live, work, and relate to one another. In its scale, scope, and complexity, what I consider to be a fourth industrial revolution is unlike anything humankind has experienced it before. So we have to understand that this fourth industrial revolution is something that we never experienced it before. So every industrial revolution has its own challenges and issues. There's no doubt on that. The countries who adopted the fourth industrial revolution, they are becoming superpower, right? What happens in China 15 years ago? They're almost nowhere. But today, they are almost beaten US. The entire economy is under China's control. So during this session, I'll try to cover as much as possible today some of the good examples of this fourth industrial revolution. Okay, let's look at this, how innovation become a normal for a corporate world. This is very important. Yeah, the corporates were mainly focusing on that the mapping customer needs and their journey across in agile way. Especially the contactless technology has quickly become top priority because of this current COVID situation. Nobody wanted to touch it. If you are receiving any items, it can be your groceries, it can be your post or account statement or any signature document or any gift. Nobody wanted to touch it. So the contactless technology becoming a top priority and creating a digital environment for the employees that are comprehensive and seamless, easy to use and effective for mostly for the remote work. So the greater emphasis on creating an agile culture and implementation, not only for developing the softwares in the IT department, but also across the whole organization. Because when it comes to agile, we also try to limit ourselves now how we develop the softwares. But organization itself has to be agile. They have to adopt to the change and quickly transfer. So this, they have to rethink and redevelop, not just their plans and just for an upcoming quarter, but for the year, even how they are going to plan it for their foreseeable future. Of course, with the current context, the pandemic, we cannot see any possible future for 1 year, 2 years. No way that we can look at that and plan for it. But we have been forced to shift and reimagine, and how the corporate and how they can work and how they can innovate. So those things, that the short-term things has to be in place. And when we are going through this digital transformation process, the organization that need to address the customer need. The customer, it can be their end customers as well as internal staff as well. And you should be able to support them with new products and services in an agile way, based on their requirement, the way they look at, the way they want it to be. So we should be able to make those changes. One of the important steps to understand the customer needs is to map their journey across your organization. Because unless you can map their journey, then it will be a loss. Because now that we have lost the opportunity for everyone to visit our office and all that, everyone is working from home. Everyone is trying to get into the virtual environment and digital engagement. So if you want to purchase something, we go to Google and search for it, or go through the fan page and all that, and we look at what is the offer given, what is the best product, what is the best service. If people look at what is a good experience that I'm going to have it with them. So accordingly, this has been decided. So you need to map the journey across the organization. So you should be able to register all the touch points they are interacting with within the organization. Also, you should be able to get their emotional outcomes, because you are not dealing with them directly. You don't know what they are thinking about it, but definitely they will be putting some comment somewhere. They'll be leaving some feedback somewhere. So you should be able to get those things. Otherwise, you had this customer relationship team, or handling call centers and handling the customer interface. You have employees who are sitting in the office, talking to them and all that. Now that part is no more. How are you going to get the customer inputs? So this is the complete change, the transformation that we have to look at. The health and safety has become a #1 concern for an enterprise. So this is where the organization, they should be looking at how organization should move forward. As I said, the contactless technology, it's very, very important. This is going to be top priority for 2021 and 2022. We have to see how we can jumpstart to that level, because that's going to be very, very important. If you ask anyone to sign it and all that, so go away. I don't have time to do all those, right? So you got to create the culture which can boost this moral within the company, so that you should be able to gain maximum out of it. Now, how we can change change this value ecosystem. You don't have a value chain which nailed down where the value ecosystem which is assembled for that timing to fulfill an obligation. So how do we order item through eBay through, I mean, this is something which is important for us to understand. Today we can't assume where our next customer is going to come from. Where is our next employer or our supplier? Because we had everyone interacting with us directly. They used to come. We used to physically see them. Now you can't see anyone. You don't know where they're coming from also. If you have 100 employees, how do you know that all 100 employees are coming from safer location and safer to accept them inside your organization? It's all about where are you dealing with, how are you going to interact with them. So you can't run your business without suppliers, without your customers, without your employees. So if you think your customers are going to be within this Sri Lanka, within this particular area only, and if you think that your employees are going to be within Colombo, this suburbs, this particular area only, and if you think that your suppliers are going to be 1, 2, 3 on this particular, we are not going to deal with anyone else, that means you are going to put yourself into the black box. So the moment we think that the entire world is my space of doing business, my customer can be anywhere, my suppliers can be anywhere, my employees can be anywhere. I wanted my job to be done. I wanted to achieve this target. I wanted to grow my organization by 10 times, 50 times. I wanted to increase my revenue by 10 times. I want to increase my profit margin by 10 times, 50 times. Then your choice of technology, choice of your business is going to be different. Okay, I hope you are started thinking on that big way, because I wanted to explore that. I can see that you have that ability. Because I have seen everyone was presenting it, you have that ability to understand what I'm saying. Right? So then we should not be sticking into the old traditional thing. We have to look at what sort of infrastructure, what sort of environment, what sort of system should be in place. That will be cloud. You should be moving you should not be just depending on individual or infrastructure which is sitting in your data center and all that. Look at many options available on the cloud. You should bring in the zero trust architecture. That means you don't trust anything. You just validate, authenticate it, fine. So you don't care who is coming in. You got to make sure, okay, if someone is entering this, they have to clear these 1, 2, 3. They should have the employee ID. They should have the COVID test report, whatever, anything that you think. You also don't believe on what they bring in. You authenticate it through the authorized source. So you don't believe anything. You just get it authorized, get it authenticated through the authorized source. Bring in the digital identity. Bring in the digital supply chain. Everything you are thinking about building that value ecosystem, that would you want to make to fulfill your obligations. The environment that it should be looking at in your organization, it can be any organization, but end of the day, how your organization should be designed, how your value ecosystem has to be assembled to fulfill your obligation, where in such way that you should be able to. Now, if I want to order something, I should be able to pick up my mobile phone. I should be able to log into eBay. and order something and pay through PayPal and deliver through DHL or UPS, right? So if I can do that, I am assembling my entire value ecosystem myself. I'm not depending on anyone. I'm not visiting any places. I'm not carrying my card. I'm not carrying my cash. I don't need to go to ATM and withdraw the cash and come here and make these payments and all that. Give it to someone. I'm not bothered about who is coming to collect it and who's with whom I'm interacting, where he's getting the items and all that. So this system, either the parties which involved, last week I believe I would have explained you, when you select the items, then you move to the payment, where you're completely moving into a different system. PayPal or whatever the payment system. That authentication happens separately. Then you come back and complete the process. Acknowledgement goes to the vendor. And the supply chain automatically get activated and you have been delivered. And you can trace whatever the items which is going to be delivered to you as well. So here, nobody, either PayPal or the DHL or UPS or the eBay, nobody does not determine entire thing for you. You have given an option to choose whatever you want. Nobody retrieve any of your information. Even if they retrieve any information, it is going to be one partial information. PayPal doesn't know which item that you have purchased. PayPal only know the amount which goes to this particular organization. The item would have been manufactured by maybe Dell. But Dell don't know how much you paid to these people, PayPal. It is only Amazon who has that information. So likewise, nobody determine what you want to buy. Even Amazon cannot determine. They can give you a suggestion. This is the power of tech today. We got to understand this. If we can wake up to this level, I think reimagining the future is not going to be the difficult, but definitely it is going to be a challenge. Because you have to break it down into the Lego pieces, Lego boxes into Lego pieces, and then you start building your ecosystem. Otherwise, if we just stick to the traditional way of thinking, we'll end up, that messing up a lot of things, right? So what is this change that we are talking about? Change is a central and it's an enduring subject in the management. The change is a process of moving from one stage to another, or the current stage to the future state. Okay, so we have to understand that fundamental. Can we say the change is occurred if the structure of the entity remains the same, but the political value has changed? Can we accept it as a change? The structure remains same, but the political value has changed. Some says no, but change is a universal. But it is an undefined construct. How do we know when change has successfully occurred? How can we distinguish change from stability? Where in complex organization do we look for change? And what do you mean when we say an organization has changed? Anyone can answer to this? Right? So that's what we are going to learn a bit. I have to rush it a little bit faster. So now since we have taken a lot of time for the presentation, can we take some extra time? Maybe 3:30, 3:45 maybe? Or do you have any other classes after this? Anyone, can you speak? Are you all with me?
Sir, for MBA, we don't have, sir, but for the others, I'm not sure.
Are there 2 batches here?
And also the
So if you can take a little extra time, I would like to take a break here till about 3 o'clock, maybe 10 minutes break, and then start and continue till about 3:45. Is that okay? Because I have to cover a lot. But
So you're on mute.
sorry. So what do you suggest? Should you continue or should we? Because if you have to continue, then I have to take a break, maybe for about 10 minutes and do it till about 3:45. If you're unable to stay until 3:45, then I can continue till about 3:15 and finish it off. What do you suggest? Should we finish it at 3:15? Or should I continue till 3:45?
Let's have a break and continue, sir.
Okay, if all are okay in agreement, let's have a 10 minutes break and then continue till about 3:45. Okay? All right. So somebody need to remind me to start recording. Huh?
Don't remind.
Sorry. So the change in the level of technology, what level of technology has been used, and change in the customer expectation or taste just been changed now, and change as a result of a competitor's activities. Now our competitor start offering something. Classic example: what happens when the Airtel entered into the market, Sri Lanka. Before we had a telephone bill of 5,000, 7,000 sometime. Now it has gone down to, after Airtel entered, after some time, it has gone down to 1,000, 1,500 rupees. But what all are the other changes happening? Quality has went down. And no, they don't care at all. Whatever complaint that we made and all, they don't care at all, because that's the change happened in the environment. When you reduce the cost, then obviously you tend to get less than what you expected. So these are one of the examples. Like change can happen as a result of government legislation. Now that we cannot import fertilizer, so then now we are forced to somehow make our own fertilizers, the organic fertilizers, and we have moved into organic farming. So the government has made a change, so it's a change into the legislation. So now we have no choice than moving ahead. Likewise, alteration in the economy. Alteration in the economy, again, we can take the current example itself. We had a huge revenue coming through tourism and foreign employment. Through that, there are a lot of dependent market has been established. to transportation and various other things. Hospitality industry. Now, entire economy has changed now. Now we have to look for new avenue of business. So this is a change for the country. Now we are unable to cope up with that change. So therefore we are struggling. We can't even open the country today because the moment you open the country, you cannot supply the fuel requirement. They've gone to that level. Right? Then the change as a result of a pandemic, which I don't need to explain to you, all are connected to that now. We had tsunami. At that time, we had a change. But with this COVID, everybody, entire world is experiencing that same change happening. So the heart of the change is to understand why some organizations are leaping into the future more successful than others. You need to first see the flow of effective large-scale change effort. The central issue is creating the change is never just a strategy or structure or culture or system. The core of the matter is always about changing the behavior of the people. How they see and think about what is the new or the proposed ways. Just give me a minute, just a message. I hope you can see my screen now. The heart of the change.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Sorry about it. I haven't started. The heart of the change, which goes into 8 steps. The few are handled well, and these steps that we are talking about is number 1 is the create urgency. So the create sense of urgency so that the people start telling each other about this change and let's go and we need to change things and so on. So second is form of powerful coalitions where you can pull together a guiding team powerful enough to guide a big change. That's very important. Without support from the many people, it's going to be very difficult to achieve that. Third one is create a clear, simple, and uplifting vision and set of strategies. So those 3 are called the creating the climate for a change. Number 1, create urgency, form a powerful coalition, and create a vision for change. The fourth one is communicate the vision through the simple and heartfelt messages sent through the multiple channels so that people begin to buy into these changes. So the communicating the vision is most important part. So empower the people by removing obstacles to the visions. So the removing the obstacles is most important. So you have to remove the obstacles by empowering the people and create short-term wins that provide the momentum. These 3 are coming under the engage and enabling the organization. The 7th one is to maintain a momentum so that we create a wave after wave of whatever the change is possible. That's very important for us to create that wave. We have to keep that momentum going on. And then the make changes stick by the nurturing the new culture. So that's where these 2 are coming under the implementing sustaining for change. Generally, if you look at the successful change effort, the first step is to make sure you have the sufficient people act with sufficient urgency. If the people are not acting with that urgency, if they are not getting that into part of their ownership to drive it, then it's a major obstacle. It becomes a major obstacle. So look for opportunities and the problems, and that you need the energy to colleagues that that they get that feeling of and sense of the let's go. So they have to get that. Without getting that feeling from the rest of the people, it's going to be really difficult for any individual to push for that change. So when you look at this behavior of the stop changes, generally we have to understand that also. So this is where most of the time, especially country like Sri Lanka, we fail. Especially the people with the false pride or the arrogance. There are sets of behaviors which stop changes usually. We call it this pessimistic attitude. That's especially we tending to see the worst aspect of things, so believe that worst thing will happen. We always wanted to look at, okay, I told you, I was expecting this to happen. Never wanted some good thing to see in their life, especially when someone is leading. So therefore, the first step is not to create a vision, but this is especially this is especially true if the organization is in crisis. So when your organization is in crisis, at that time you can't set the vision. So when someone is, nipping your leg, pulling your legs and all that, at that time you can't set a big visions and all that. If they stand on a burning platform which all issues are happening, and then they have no choice but take immediate action. And where we should be able to jump away from the comfortable zone, that but we think that how we can, get out of the situation which is happening. So you can't make, you can't make the people to move when they say that push me if you can, So those are the things that we have to be careful and to have understand, to see what's the behavior of those stop changes. Look at these motivational factors. You want to show the others the need to change with the compelling object that they can actually see and they can touch and they can feel that. So when there is an urgency, the more people want to lead, even if there is a personal risk and few short-term rewards and all that available, but the urgency is not enough. But large-scale change does not happen without a powerful or the support of guiding force, which is the support from the big people. So generally, the management team cannot do the job, and the hero of that change process, which is generally the CEOs or the chairman, those are the heroes of that particular change, but they don't work. Right? So actual work is being carried out by someone at the operational level. So we should understand those things. There are not enough hours in the day where even your strongest person or executive to accomplish a change single-handedly. So they need support from many other people. The challenge is, how are you going to put together in this team, the whole team together to work towards that goal? So that's where you should have this, show the people with valid evidences from outside the organization that demonstrate the change is required. And look at the cheap and easy way to reduce complications, and always never underestimate complacency, fear, and anger. So those things can definitely make an impact. So how do you build a guiding group? That's the important part that you were talking about, which is relevant knowledge about what's happening outside the enterprise is very important. So the powerful guiding group has two major characteristics. They're made up of right people, and it also demonstrates the teamwork. The right people are those individuals with the appropriate skills, leadership, and the leadership capacity is very important, and the organizational credibility. And also they should have a good connection to handle this organizational change, right? And the right people are not necessarily part of existing senior management itself. How do you build a team of the right people is, can be a single individual who feels great urgency, usually pull in the first place. Relevant, especially when it comes to the creating the people, you got to understand whether they have the relevant knowledge about it, especially within the organization as well as outside the organization. This is important for us to create the vision for that change. And the credibility is important. Also, connection within the organization where the change is happening. A person who is known for bad things and he always does something very bad, or there can be a situation where whenever he or she involved, there is a misappropriation of funds or anything like that. And if you don't have a proper records, then definitely people won't cope up with it. So the person who has delivered success and who has worked with many people within the organization, and that person should have a proper communication, especially the communication essential for the communicating the vision is very important, especially when you are going for this organizational change. And then the valid information about internal workings and also enterprises, especially this is essential for removing barriers that can disempower the people from acting on the vision. Otherwise, if you don't provide that valid information, then they might think, okay, there is some hidden agenda, which I don't think we should be part of it. So the moment they get that signal, they just keep away themselves. So then we won't be able to get that support from the synergy is important. And then the formal authority is very important, especially the managerial skills. They should have that skill set to associate with planning, organizing, and controlling, especially need to create a short-term wins. That's important. If you don't show them a short-term wins, then when we especially going for a larger project, larger change, especially when it comes to software projects and all that, it might take 3 months, 6 months, 8 months, 1 year, 2 years, some projects goes up to 3 years. So unless you show the short-term goals, 3 months we are achieving these and we are going live with these, 6 months we are going live with these, 1 year we are going live with these. Likewise, if you can expand it and show the goals that we are achieving these things, then probably they will have, okay, now there is some progress which is happening. But if you don't give that confidence, what will happen is they are going to feel like, oh, this, we don't see anything. It is obvious. So you got to show that short-term wins and also the leadership skills, which is associated with the vision, community, and how it's going to be motivated and all that. So this is required for nearly every aspect of change process. So it is not just limited to particular areas. Then you got to get your vision right, especially in successful large-scale change, where we take a well-functioning guiding team, which is the leadership team, which answer the question required to produce a clear sense of direction. That is very important. If you don't provide the clear sense of direction, where are we moving towards and how are we going to achieve it and all that, then you can't get the people support to push towards that. So the good answer to these questions, so of course, the position of organization to leap into the better future. So you have to show that this is where we are going to achieve the goal and how this is going to have an impact on your organization. The future is going to be so and so. So this guiding team, most of the time, where what we have seen was they don't have a clear direction or they don't encourage to embrace the sensible missions. So due to that reason, when it comes to large scale changes, which only the planning is never be sufficient. Something very different is essential, especially when it comes to large changes. Those organizations that have successfully implemented large scale changes, they have 4 things which is helped, especially. That is budget, then the planning, strategies, and the vision. So then you should know what change is necessary for you and what is your vision for this new change or a new organization, whatever the changes that you're looking at. And what should be not altered? What is the best way to make the vision a reality? And what are the change strategies are unacceptably dangerous for you and all? So you should have those questions answered for you to get into the get the support from this all the support. Let's look at these strategies for vision or the strategies for this change. More and more executives, they believe that the vision must be included at the beginning, where it's by the leader itself. So that is the very first thing when you are entering into this. For example, if you're entering into new market or anything, what is the vision that, or you're being to be a low competitor, or you're going to be a differentiator in terms of service or in terms of number of items that can supply. What is the vision? Okay, it can be low price, or you can deliver any number of quantities. If you ask 1,000, 50,000, 100,000, 1 million, yes, we can deliver. So then nobody can cope up, because you know that in the market you can sell 500,000, but the current people, they can sell it only up to 50 per day, 100 per day, whatever. No, you are coming up with a strategy. Okay, I can sell 500,000 per day. Then other people becoming irrelevant. This is the story that we came up with, this ECTA agreement, when we tried to sign the ECTA agreement with India. The problem was Sri Lanka needed to meet that $5 billion revenue through ICT industry. We need a workforce of at least 25,000 workforces to come into IT industry. From 125,000 to, we should be able to go up to 350,000 IT workforce to meet that $5 billion. But we are producing only 7,000 to 8,000 IT graduates, out of which we don't know how many of them are remaining within IT industry itself. So there's a huge vacuum. How can we fill that vacuum? Microsoft wanted to set up their office in Sri Lanka. Google wanted to set up their office in Sri Lanka. Amazon wanted to set up their office in Sri Lanka. But they need, okay, give me 1,000 Java developers, 2,000 maybe expertise on this particular technology or DevOps and so on. So how are we going to do that? A university is producing only maybe around 150, 200 maximum. Not everybody is expert on one particular technology. So then the government decided, okay, let's sign up with India, China, Singapore, maybe a couple of other countries, and get on the people. Let these people to set up office here so that our people can get trained, they become expert, and they become global players. Along with that, another 100 companies can cope up, because when the employees are getting trained and high-skilled resources have been built, then there are more people out here so that we can get more job done. Our people thought, no, this is going to create a problem for us, because they thought this, by bringing in those people, we are going to lose our opportunity. Certain narrow-minded people. So then those are the decisions that the vision that our organization has to set it. As a country, we set the vision, but we couldn't execute it. If we have executed, we could have got almost all big players setting up their office in Sri Lanka almost 5-6 years ago. Today, we would be in a better position sometime. Now we are talking about growth through the IT industry, but where is the people? Nobody wants to come to Sri Lanka. So the bold vision is required, bold strategies. That's where the many change initiatives fall apart. People without experience developing bold strategies can't figure out what to do next, because it is so different from what they have done before. That's exactly what happens to our country. So they may even come to believe that the vision is useless because they can't come up with the strategic plan. How you get the vision right, here is what you should do. So you should articulate the vision that is so clear, that is fit into one page. Articulate a vision that moving, such as the commitment to serve the people, to create a bold strategy and move ahead quickly. Don't assume that legal, logical plans and budgets are enough. Don't rely on every analytical, financial based vision exercise. Don't rely on visions that just slash cost. This produces anxiety and depression, but rarely change. So this is important for us to understand where we moving, especially when it comes to strategy for change vision. The vision is very important. So I think I told you that I'll stop at 3:45. Let me quickly, okay, another 2 more slides so that we can stop it here. Right. So see and feel changes. Now, changing is one change changing one person is hard enough, but changing hundreds or thousands of people is almost impossible task. Yet the organizations are still doing it. So most of that organization do, they're successfully focusing on showing what needs to be changed. Once the people is responded emotionally to the legend and the emotional reaction, the people then get into action. They see, they can feel, that they can change it. Then that helps the organization to move forwards. So the whole people can see the need for a change with the compelling, eye-catching, dramatic situation to visualize the problem and what is the solution which is required. Let the people to feel that as they are hit with the reality of the situation and feel the need to act on it. Then let's the people to take the emotional charge into actions. So that's how you get the support to make the change. However, how do you empower action for a change? When people begin to understand that act on the change vision, you need to remove the barriers of their paths, whatever the barriers which is coming in the path. For example, if you take remove the pessimistic skipper and give them the crew an optimistic boss, because the leader who is always blocking this thing and all that, and then it definitely create this. So what you do, take away the pessimistic skipper and you give a optimistic boss. So then you try easing the reluctant boss or you boss attitude through the creative approach. So very often the biggest obstacle to change is change the boss. So the immediate manager or someone higher in the hierarchy, where the subordinates see the vision and they want to help, but effectively they used to put it down. So especially the supervisors or the managers, they might see this is a stupid thing. So when they have that sort of feeling, then it is going to be very difficult. The subordinates, you can't be just think that they are fools, right? Either if the leaders think that this is a stupid thing to do, so then the subordinate thing, either they will give up or they will, try and find a way to remove the barrier. So that will create a problem for the leader also. So how can you come out or overcome this reluctant boss who has become the barrier for the change is something that you got to think about it. So the only way out is try and ease, easing the reluctant boss through that sort of a creative approach. So then you can somehow find a way to move forward. So I hope you understand those points. Empower the action for change. One is act on change vision. You need to remove barriers in their paths. Second is take away pessimistic skipper and give the crew an optimistic boss. Third is try and easing reluctant boss attitude through the creative approach. So these are the actions which you should empower for a change. So rest of the things that we will take it up during next week's session. Next week, we are going to start with the quiz. Okay. So there is another 25 altogether, another 25 slides, 23, 24 slides are there here itself. And next week also I have another session. So let's try to cover it up next week itself, because next week is going to be my last session. I think your semester also almost coming to an end, right? So I hope you have enjoyed the session today. Yep. Please upload your any question.
Sir, can we have the recording?
Yes, I think I haven't uploaded last week also. What I do is I will upload it and share the link with you all. Huh?
Okay, sir, thank you.
All right. So far only 4 groups have submitted their assignment. Others also please submit it, because I'm going to go through it today. Better if you could upload it to themselves. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.